All right, so we're joined all the way from Athens, Ohio, from the Russ College of Engineering at Ohio University by my high school classmate, Dr. Neil Littell. We are recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson, and we'll get to some of their questions. And we're also recording this for our YouTube channel. And we are in the manufacturing career cluster. And I know that's something you specialize in. And what we've talked about for the last few minutes before you joined us is that literally everything on this planet that we sleep in, that we drive, that we use, that we wear has to be manufactured. And because of the changes in technology, it's getting more and more away from the just the non-skilled jobs. There's more technology involved in this. There's a lot of science. Always the need for engineers on the associate's, graduate, and the bachelor's degree level. So all kinds of levels of entry in this. So before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your educational background, because you're a product of Madison County Schools as well.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Yeah, so I went to Rosa Scott. I grew up in Madison, went to Madison Central, of course, and from there I went to Holmes Community College. So you're probably familiar with that. I worked towards and earned a degree in drafting and design, and so that's really where I got started in manufacturing. So like Greg was saying, everything you see around you is manufactured. Of course, things that are living like plants are not, but pretty much everything else is. But the first part of manufacturing something is creating a technical drawing of it, technical specification. And so that's what drafting and design is really all about. And so from there, I went to Mississippi State University. I was there for a few years. I earned a bachelor's of science degree in trade and technical studies, and also one in industrial technology.
Wow.
And I got a master's in technology, and then the university hired me to do manufacturing consulting in the state of Mississippi.
Wow.
And so I started doing work with, I worked with a bunch of companies in the state. I worked for the Center for Advanced Vehicular Systems at Mississippi State University, and that whole center is focused on manufacturing research, and manufacturing outreach. Many of you have probably seen there's a building across the interstate from the Nissan plant in Canton, which is our extension center, which is focused on manufacturing extension. And so through that investment, we worked a lot with the suppliers for Nissan, and we also did some work to help recruit Toyota to build a plant in Tupelo. I got involved with Viking Range in Greenwood, Mississippi. I ended up going to work for Viking Range. I actually still work for them. I've worked for them since 2008. And so I manage all of their engineering data and engineering processes. So really sort of tying back to the stuff that I did right when I came out of high school, and, working on the drafting and design degree. While I was employed at the university, I continued my education because why not? It was a benefit, right? And so I earned a PhD and was able to pursue my dream of becoming a professor. I moved to Athens, Ohio in 2014, and have continued to engage. I teach in a program that trains people to be manufacturing engineers.
Wow.
And so that's kind of my story. So I don't want to talk about myself forever.
What a resume. Now, and obviously Ohio is a big part of manufacturing in this country, but Mississippi is as well. So what are some of the skills that these manufacturing companies are looking for? Because obviously you named Nissan, you named Viking. We just looked at Ingalls Shipbuilding at Pascagoula. Yep. We have Levi's, U.S. Foods, so many manufacturing companies here in Mississippi, but it's not just a conveyor belt and screwing stuff on. There's a lot of technical and engineering skills that go into this. So what are some of these skills some of these employers are looking for?
Yeah, so really, that's a great question. I guess it sort of depends on where you want to work in manufacturing. Manufacturing is so big. There are a ton of opportunities, and really it's about exploring and figuring out what you enjoy, what you like to do, because if you can work a job that you really enjoy, it doesn't, you're going to be more successful, right? Because it doesn't feel like, mowing the yard or something. You're just like, work, right? So that's one of the things that we try to do here, and also at Mississippi State, in the industrial technology program. And Greg, I'll send you the names of the faculty members over there as well. I still work with them a little bit, but really there's a lot of opportunities. So if you think about the manufacturing organization, you have the people who are working on the line, of course, but you also have quality, you have service, you have engineering, which is doing a lot of the research and development, designing new products. And so that's what you see a lot of right now. A lot of companies are working really hard. We have like supply chain drama and stuff right now, but we're also working really hard to design and develop and launch new products, because one of the best ways for the company to stay in business is to have new offerings. And so really, when you think about production and manufacturing, there's a lot of different aspects that fall into that. And some people like to work in the logistics side, acquiring parts, getting parts, and all of the work that takes. We have a saying in manufacturing: it takes one part to shut you down. So
Absolutely.
And what that means is, if we're at Viking and we're making ranges, if we're missing one knob, we can't sell a range, right? Because someone's going to get angry if they get a range and it doesn't have a knob on it, right? So really, there's also we're seeing a lot of technology that's being incorporated into the manufacturing enterprise, a lot of robotics, a lot of automation. And I think that's a great thing, because there's not a lot of people who really enjoy very repetitive tasks where you're just sitting there not really thinking and just kind of moving around. So what we're seeing is we're offloading that repetitive task to a robot and letting the robot be bored all day while it does its job, and assigning people to doing value added activities, right? And so things where you have to think. And that's where I'd say the biggest skill that is needed in manufacturing are people who can think critically and solve problems, because there's no shortage of problems in any manufacturing environment. One real quick kind of side note, when I talk with students, at least in Ohio, high school students, I like to ask them what their perception of manufacturing is. Yeah. And I get surprising responses sometimes. So a lot of people think manufacturing is dirty and dangerous and scary and loud and unsafe and all of that. For the most part, most of the plants that I've been in are impeccably clean. I mean, they're very, very clean environments. We have a very, very safe country to work in. We're very regulated with respect to OSHA and Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and making sure that people are safe. And if you think about it, a company has no incentive whatsoever to have a dangerous work environment, right? Because it's so difficult to find talent and people who can think critically and can perform out in the manufacturing environment, that they're going to take care of them, right? We want them to stay around. We're talking relatively high paying jobs. We're seeing manufacturing really swing back to the United States from other countries where it have been offshored. I know in Ohio, I mean, we're the third largest manufacturing state in the union. So manufacturing is absolutely massive up here. But we're seeing investments from companies like Intel. We have a new chip plant that's being built in Columbus, and other things. But there's other opportunities for people. And really, I'm kind of rambling here. Professors tend to do that, so I apologize for that. But
No, and you made some good points. But you talked about the manufacturing jobs are like you said, they're getting away from the repetitive, mundane tasks. That's kind of the manufacturing that we saw in the media in the past. But you went to homes yourself. What if somebody watching now or watching later saying, I don't really want to do the 4-year college thing, but they want to learn the trade. How important are these trades and skills in the manufacturing industry? Because you have the welding, you have the robotics, and you have the industrial engineering, electrical engineering. That's some trades you can learn in 1 to 2 years that are essential to these manufacturing plants.
Yeah. So I would encourage people to look at the offerings from the community colleges. A lot of the community college curriculum is informed by the local industries. And so really from a community college perspective, the community colleges are set up to support the local community and provide job skills and training. I apologize for my phone ringing. But really, I would focus there. I would try to explore several different aspects of manufacturing to figure out what you enjoy, what you like. The other thing is we at the 4-year institutions, the universities, we are really working, and this is across the country, we're really working on building what are called 2+2 programs. And so these are programs for people who go out, get an associate's degree, get a job, start making really good money, and then we build infrastructure to provide support to help you finish a 4-year degree while you're working. And
Mississippi does a great job of that as well.
Well, and the sad thing is, so I'll tell people this. So the sad thing is, so we build all this infrastructure, but many people don't use it.
Yeah.
And so I've worked for companies that had education benefits, and I bet less than 1% of people use those benefits. And what that means is the company will pay for you to get your degree or finish your degree. And so I would encourage people when they're talking with their supervisor or their employer to really sort of explore those avenues as well. In some places they have programs that are extremely supportive. I was at Wichita State a couple of years ago. They have a program there for training people to work on airplanes. Wichita is the hub of service for aerospace in the country, and the reason is because Wichita, Kansas is very close to the geographic center of the United States. That's the only reason. And so there's a lot of aerospace infrastructure in Wichita. And so they're training people to do things like repair carbon fiber.
Wow.
Even working on the lines with carbon fiber and building out airlines. But that program in particular seeks out people with a 2-year degree who are trying to upskill themselves. They'll provide housing for people to come to Wichita. They'll provide a lot of infrastructure to support family and kids while people are in school and working. In Ohio, there's a place called Lorain Community College. They're close to Cleveland. And they have a very robust program working with manufacturers in their area where people go to school 2 days a week and they work for the company 3 days a week. And so they have this really nice apprenticeship type of model to really help people. And guess what? It's in the best interest of your company to participate in those programs because it's easier for them to grow skills in the people and the resources that they have in a lot of cases than to find someone else to come in.
Yeah, and these companies would much rather have somebody that's skilled in new technology, and new systems than trying to train someone that's been there 15 years to do
Right.
something new. So I think it's important for these young people to realize there are unbelievable career opportunities in this area, whether it be in chemical, electrical systems, computer. These companies are wanting young people that can learn this new technology because, like you said, in manufacturing, one piece can throw you off. This is a perfection-driven field. If you can make
Yeah.
something and learn to make something better for the consumer, it is amazing how much money you can make with or without a degree.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, so like, welding, you brought up welding a few minutes ago as a skill. A lot of welders get paid a lot of money. I had a student up here in Ohio who unfortunately didn't finish. And the reason was because he had a 2-year welding degree, and he was offered a crazy amount of money basically to inspect welds for a pipeline, and so that's what he's doing right now. So
And it's a lot cheaper that route too. Now, one thing I also wanted to talk about is, and we saw a video from Nissan in Canton, is, a lot of times and you talked about the perception students have in manufacturing, because you think dirty guys wearing the hard hats and, all muscular and stuff, but there is a huge opportunity for women in this field as well.
Yeah, so one of the things that I ask my students up here when we're talking about manufacturing is I ask them about what do you think the lines look like, the people who work on the lines at Viking Range, and I get bizarre answers. Sometimes people will say, I think they look like the guys from Duck Dynasty, with old dudes with big long beards and stuff. But the reality is, our lines at Viking are they're probably 85 to 90% female, African American female, and so that's what the line makeup looks like.
These are skilled workers. It isn't just some. They really have to learn to work these machines, because especially in something like that, it is machine driven. You got to have people to fix the machine, to run the machine. I actually met a guy a few weeks ago that was flown in from California. I'm sorry, from Minnesota, to fix the machine that put in the sunroof of the Titan.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That specializes of a field.
Yeah. Well, you run into extremely specialized equipment for specialized purpose, and when that machine goes down, it's a problem. So, but if you have someone in house who can work with that engineer to understand how the machine works better, you can also build some capability in house to help avoid that from happening in the future.
All right, I do have some questions from the students I want to get to, and these are all ninth graders, and some of these are really good. Golly, these are good questions. The first one is London Lights, and she asked, "What do you think is the fastest growing area of manufacturing?"
In Ohio, at least, it is in robotics for sure. We're seeing just an amazing amount of jobs that are available in robotics and robotics engineering. I think that those are high-paying jobs. They're very plentiful right now, and I'd say that's probably right now the fastest growing skill.
Neil, I don't know if you knew this, but now at the Madison County Votech Center, they have a 2-year robotics program you can do in high school. And that is a great pipeline into that industry. And I encourage anybody that's with me now or watching later, really look into that when we go to the Madison County Career Center, because that, what you just heard from a manufacturing expert, robotics is the fastest growing career field right now.
Yeah, I mean, even at Viking, I mean, we have implemented robotic solutions for some of the work that we do. So, for example, if you think about an oven, we make, a range or an oven has an oven cavity, right? And so we spray a porcelain coating on the sheet metal to make it easier to clean primarily. So you see that a lot in residential applications, but all of those coatings are applied by robots, and so that's a great solution. And I'll tell you why it's a great solution for that use case, because to apply the porcelain coating, that is a very dirty process. And so what that means is we have a room, because we don't want the rest of the plant getting dirty. There's a person who they don't do this anymore, but they used to wear suits because they can't breathe this stuff. They would go into this room, and we electrostatically charge the cavities. So what that means is we run electricity through them basically and turn that sheet metal into a big magnet, basically, and we spray the porcelain dust on it, and then we bake it, and it melts all of the porcelain, and that's how you end up with a porcelain cavity. But
So the robotics and safety, it's a safety issue as well.
so it's a lot cleaner. It's a lot smaller because now we don't have to have this big room that a person can move around in. The quality is also improved, because if the person gets distracted or they miss a little spot, then you end up with not having good coverage, and we have to scrap the oven cavity. But with the robots, we get very repeatable results, which has increased our quality and has reduced the amount of scrap.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different benefits to using robotic solutions for a lot of companies, and it's really sort of finding the right applications for the robots.
Yeah, and that's a great point. This is Aiden Owens, and he asked, how much does manufacturing impact our everyday life?
Well, if we didn't have manufacturing, we'd be living in caves and throwing spears at things. So I would say quite heavily. That's a good question, but yeah. I mean, it literally everything you look around, everything that you see in your environment was manufactured somewhere. It was designed by someone. There was a team of people involved in making that thing, the chair you're sitting on, the desk, even the floor tiles and the ceiling tiles. Those are not natural resources. You don't go out to the tree that grows ceiling tiles and pick a few off, right? So everything is manufactured.
Now this is a great question right here. This is Gordon Smith, and he asked, what type of technology advances do you see coming up in the manufacturing industry?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as a professor, I have to have a research focus, and my research focus is on digital engineering. And so I'm seeing a lot of effort being put into augmented and virtual reality and incorporating that into the work environment. So, for example, when I was working at Mississippi State, so this would have been in probably 2007. Back then, they were wanting a head-mounted display, so a little computer screen that floats in front of your face, basically, that could present someone on the line with work instructions. So the use case was, so imagine you have a Titan or something Nissan makes, and you have a lot of different configurations and a lot of different options for those vehicles. And the thought is that the more options you have, the more sales you will get. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but a lot of companies feel that way. But when you have someone out on the floor and they see something or a configuration they don't see very often, they may have questions or need a refresher on how to build the product. And so Nissan wanted at that time the capability to, instead of having that person leave the floor and go research and figure out how to implement whatever they needed to build, what if they had a little display floating in front of their eye, and they could bring up the instructions right there and kind of walk them through the task. We're also seeing a lot of reuse of engineering data for the manufacturing shop floor. Yeah. And what that means is, so when we design something, we typically design it three-dimensionally. So we create a three-dimensional model of the parts and the assembly of the product that we want to make. But now that you have these three-dimensional data sets out there, there's other applications for them. So, for example, what if you built instructions for how to build this product using that engineering data. And then what if you also extended that to service? And so you use those digital artifacts to create service documentation.
That
So
data
now,
is such a time saver and money saver, let me tell you.
yeah, well, and even better than that, Greg. So now what we do is we build intelligence into those models so that when we update something, it automatically updates all the other documentation.
That's
Yeah,
unbelievable. The fact, I
yeah.
mean, I never would have thought of that, but that's a great technological advance. So that was a great question. I just got one more from the students, and this is the Adriana Sly, and she asked, "What were the biggest obstacles you faced to get to where you are now?"
The biggest obstacles that I faced?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think that everyone has obstacles in their daily lives. I think that we are responsible for how we respond to those obstacles. I think that having ownership of your life and your actions is one of the critical characteristics of people who are successful.
Absolutely.
And so what I mean by that is everyone has bad situations, bad stuff that comes up, but it's how you deal with that stuff that really defines you as a person. Okay. And so what that means is, yes, you're going to encounter things that you're not going to like, but you're going to have to deal with. And the way that you deal with those life events is critical to your success. I will tell you that one of the things that I see that is most lacking in the young people that I work with is persistence.
Okay.
And what that means really is not giving up, right? Like you have a challenge, you have a thing that needs to be done. If you just give up or you roll over and you walk away, then that is something that holds you back. That's not only admitting defeat, but it's accepting the consequences of that defeat.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm glad you answered that. We're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining. But I was also going to ask you about that. As somebody who came from Madison County Schools, you grew up right down the road, and you had, manufacturing engineering is all about solving problems and working through that. And you're a great example of that. And it's so good to see you, my man.
You too, Greg.
Yeah. Thank you again for joining us. Dr. Neil Littell at the Russ College of Engineering in Athens, Ohio, at Ohio University. And before I go Bobcats.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, and I'm happy to help anyone who just wants to talk about stuff. College is not a scary place. There's a lot of people who are what we call first generation students. If maybe there's no one in your family who's ever gone to college, be the first. Yeah. And really understand that asking for help is not a weakness, especially if you're first generation and you just want to talk about things. The university environment, excuse me, can be a little bit scary and daunting for people, and it doesn't have to be that way. So use your resources. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And go talk to people, right? And so there's a lot of support at every university that's available, and we're really just wanting to help you succeed. But you have to do the work, and a lot of that is being persistent.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Well, again, thank you so much. I know you got a busy schedule. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. Talk to you soon.
Anytime. I'm glad I could help you out. Have a great day.
I see you, buddy.